At its core, solar power is taking energy that's available from the sun and converting it to usable electricity. To do this, we need three basic things: a way to capture the energy, a way to store it, and a way to make it usable. Solar panels collect the sun's energy and convert it to electricity. Some panels are more efficient than others, but even the most efficient panels are only able to convert about 25% of the energy. Basically, photons in the sun strike the cells of a solar panel and they knock loose electrons, creating an electric current. This is called the photovoltaic effect, and it's why sometimes you see solar input in measurements called PV inputs. Now that electric current has a voltage, amperage, and wattage rating. I'm going to explain this simply, there's more to dig into, but for this video, let's just keep it simple. Voltage is like an electrical force that pushes. These electrons build up and they are looking for an outlet. Voltage is potential energy that wants to push out into your electrical system. The higher the voltage, the more force it pushes with. Voltage is measured in volts. Amperage, which is sometimes called current, is a measure of electrons moving through a conductor, like a wire. If voltage is the potential energy pushing into the system, then amperage is the flow or current of that energy as it is allowed into the system. Amperage is measured in amps. Wattage measures how fast the electrons are generated or consumed. That power is directly tied to the push of the voltage and the flow of the amperage. More volts and more amps means more wattage, or more power. So a solar panel that, say, operates at 25 volts and 10 amps will output 250 watts. That's how we capture and measure the sun's energy. Now, the electricity from the panels needs to be regulated or controlled, and that's where a charge controller comes in. This is how electric current is regulated as it moves into the next part, which is storage. A charge controller makes sure the power is regular, flows in the right direction, doesn't overcharge the storage of the solar system, and a few other things. We can capture the solar power, control it, now we need a way to store it. There are different kinds of batteries that can work, but the common type today is the LiFePO4 battery. That's a lithium, iron, phosphate battery, and the number 4 refers to the 4 oxygen atoms in the phosphate molecule. A LiFePO battery is a deep cycle battery that can be charged and recharged many times. There are different kinds of battery configurations, but generally they all have cells which connect together and a battery management system, or BMS. Some have various sensors and maybe even the ability to communicate with Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. Batteries are rated by their voltage and amp hours. An amp hour is a measurement of a battery's capacity and is a rating of how much electricity can be used over time. A 100 amp hour battery can use 1 amp of power for 100 hours, 10 amps for 10 hours. A 12 volt 100 amp hour battery will put out 1200 watt hours of power. Theoretically, if you use 1200 watts from a battery, you could run your device for 1 hour, or 100 watts for 12 hours. But how do you use this electricity? The power that is stored in the battery is what we call DC, or direct current. We can use it directly with devices that use DC power, and we can use something called an inverter to change the DC power to AC power that can be used with devices that need alternating current instead of direct current. This is the type of power that your home uses. The inverter takes the DC power and oscillates it and amplifies it, transforming it into AC power that your AC appliances can use. If you had a 500 watt inverter and a 12 volt 100 amp hour battery, you could ideally power 500 watts for almost 2.5 hours. 1200 watt hours divided by 500 watts is 2.4, so 2.4 hours. Now I said ideally because we have to talk about efficiency. Inverters use some sort of power to do this transition from DC to AC. It takes some power to transform that voltage from 12 volts or 24 volts to 120 volts, which is the voltage most AC appliances need, and to change from direct or alternating current. This particular inverter generally tests at 83.5% efficiency, meaning that for every 100 watts that the inverter transforms, 83.5 watts are output. Now there's one more thing that you need to know about inverters. There are different kinds of inverters. When the DC power is oscillated into AC power, it can be represented as a sine wave where the current alternates. Some inverters are modified sine wave with jaggy and blocky wave characteristics. These power inverters can provide electricity to power tools and devices that use motors, but they can harm more sensitive electronics like your computer. A pure sine wave inverter will output a clean power signal that can be used for any device that needs AC power. This is a pure sine wave inverter. So the solar panel captures and converts energy from the sun, which the charge controller regulates as it is stored in the battery. Then the inverter uses the stored battery power to deliver AC electricity to your devices. That's a basic primer on how solar systems work. If you like videos like this, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.